welcome to the official podcast of the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association. IHSBCA leadership includes Executive Director Brian Abbott, President Jeremy Ritchie, and First VP Kevin Hannon. Follow them online at IHSBCA.org and be sure to give them a follow on Twitter with the handle at IHSBCA. I'm your host, Dan Hill of Baseball Across Indiana, and with that, let's get right to today's episode. Let's talk historically some baseball promotions that I would call a gimmick as we start things out here before we bring on today's guest. Back in 1974, the Cleveland Indians had a 10-cent beer night. That didn't end real pretty. That flooded the field with some not exactly sober fans. Got a little ugly. 1976. This is a fun one. I think it was 1976. In the polo. No, it wasn't 76. It was earlier than that. I can't remember the exact date. But in the Polo Grounds, they had a scrap metal promotion where if kids brought in scrap metal, they got in for free. Well, the kids came by themselves to the Polo Grounds and flooded the field with nothing but kids. They ended up having to forfeit the game. 1995 was free baseball night at Dodger Stadium. Those baseballs, that ended up getting ugly. All those baseballs ended up getting thrown on the field. Got a little ugly. 1951, here's one I think a lot of people know. Edie Goodell, 3'7", took an at bat for the St. Louis Browns, and still to this day is the shortest person who ever played a Major League Baseball game. Then, of course, one that I think was actually fun was 1976. What do you think about those White Sox shorts they came out and played with? On a personal level, I know a guy that took 3 years to travel the state just to pick up high school baseball hats. It's all about promotion. Some of those are gimmicks, but some of them are not. Some of them, it's more. Because at the end of the day, one thing I like to think about as we introduce today's guest is, when it's working, it's not a gimmick. And this is definitely working. And I'll tell you, I'm really excited to have today's guest with me, Tyler Gillum, the coach that wears the boots for the Savannah Bananas. And Coach, thank you. Right now, I tell you what, you were at ABCA. You were at, I think, the Kentucky High School Baseball Coaches Association. I really appreciate you coming on here and talking to our audience with the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association, really about the concept of more, because there is more to you. There's more to the Savannah Bananas. When you're selling it, the it is not just butts in the seat. You're selling a lot of things, and we're going to pick those apart and try to keep this interview under a day and a half, because I could talk to you for a while. Coach, where are you at right now? And, you're a busy man. How are things going right now?
Yeah, thanks, Dan, for having me. That's a impressive hat collection you got, and I'd love to be up there hanging out in Indiana, for the high school clinic in the future, man. That's a spot I haven't been to yet. It's one of my passions to actually go to every high school clinic and try to hang out with some of those coaches. So I look forward to making that happen in the future. And yeah, man, I'm in the coach's office. We've got spring training started. It started on February 1st. So the Bananas and the Party Animals are in the house, and we're training, and we're getting ready for this world tour.
Well, and you're about to get even more busy because the Savannah Bananas tour, it's coming through Indianapolis June 29th and June 30th. On a side note, I'll make sure I check off getting a Savannah Bananas hat in the hat cave there when you guys are in town. And Brian Abbott, if you're listening, I don't know if you heard that statement he just said right there about trying to get to every state coaches association. Let's make that happen. Because I think as we listen to the message here, as we dive deeper into this, I'm buying what not only Savannah Bananas are selling. I'm buying what Tyler Gillum is selling here, because he's got a mission. He has a why. There's a what. We see the what on the field a lot, but there's a lot more going on with that what in the background. That's kind of the how also, but the why is really impressive, as you and I were talking offline, Tyler. And let's do a little background here. You're an Oklahoma guy, and I want to dive into that a little bit here soon too, because I know You've had a coach that's impacted your life. You made some big life moves, to Phoenix, and now you're about to go all over the country. Tell us about that. How you're, not settling in. You're not digging your feet in. You're not getting comfortable. You're ready for what's next. Tell us about that dynamic of your life transition from Oklahoma to now.
Yeah, so I grew up in Ada, Oklahoma, small town. Um, in Ada, it's about 17,000 people, but I lived about 25 minutes outside of town. So I was in the sticks and grew up on a ranch. It's the Gillum 66 Ranch. And my dad's side of the family, they all rodeoed. So I grew up in a rodeo family, and my mom's side of the family, they all played football and basketball and baseball. And so that's where I got my baseball knowledge from, was my mom's side. And so my dad's side, we were always going to rodeos growing up. And if I don't know if you've ever seen the old movie 8 Seconds, but about Lane Frost, but that was like one of my idols growing up. And my dad rodeoed against him growing up, and so that's kind of what my dad wanted me to do. He wanted me to be a bull rider. And so actually, when the movie 8 Seconds came out, we went to the movies, the theater, and we watched the movie as a family. And that was actually the first time I ever saw my dad cry. And so if you watch the movie, at the end of the movie, Lane, true story, gets horned in the back and it punctures his lung and he ends up dying in Cheyenne. And when that happened, I'm watching this as like a 9, 10-year-old boy, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh man, what's going on here? And I look over at my dad, and my dad's crying, and I'm like, man, this is crazy, right? And so at that time, at that age, I was trying to figure out if I was going to rodeo or play baseball. And so at that time, I decided in that moment, watching my dad cry and watching this on the screen, like, hey, I think I'd rather get hit by a 90-mile-an-hour fastball than get horned by a bull. So I've got so much gratitude for all those bull riders. I think they're the most underrated athletes in the world. Every day they play, they get on a bull and they're hurt. It's not if you get hurt, it's when and how bad.
And
So I've always had that toughness piece kind of staring at me in the face, because that's who my dad, my uncles, and my cousins were growing up. And I went to high school and I got lucky enough. Some of the things that have happened in my life, I say, man, I've just been lucky to be around some really talented and high level people that have steered me in the right direction. And one of those people is Eddie Collins, my high school baseball coach, and he's my hero. He put me on the right path. So for all these high school coaches in Indiana that are listening, is like, you guys are impacting people, and you might not see it today or next year, the following year, but you just wait, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. Yeah, you'll have that person come back to you and go, man, coach, you really impacted me. And I know that's what those Indiana high school coaches are doing. There's a lot of time, effort, and money that is put into these players at the high school level. And that's what my high school coach, Eddie Collins, did for me, man. He put me on a path that, I really needed to be on. And, really cool kind of story is he broke the national wins record for high school baseball coaches in America in 2021. And so he's got over 2,100 wins under his belt. But I'll tell you what, a lot of people look at that and they say, man, this guy really knows a lot about baseball. But I tell you what, that guy knows a lot more about life than baseball. And he taught me a lot more about life. And he's a really good baseball coach. So, yeah, that transitioned me to going to Seminole State College and then East Central University, D2 school in Ada, Oklahoma. I jumped onto the coaching staff after I finished playing, got my master's degree in education. And then after those 2 years, I needed to figure out another coaching gig, because East Central didn't have a full-time paid assistant at that time. So I'm trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And my goal at that time at 23, 24 years old was, I want to be a Division I baseball coach. And so I said, where's the best place that I can learn, grow, and network? And I've always stuck to those three things: learn, grow, and network. And so I kind of looked at the country and I said, where is kind of baseball heaven? Where can you go to one place where you can learn for the most amount of baseball coaches? And it's kind of baseball year round. And I thought that was Phoenix, Arizona. So what I did was I emailed every single JUCO coach in the Phoenix area. All right. So there's 8 JUCOs in the area, in the Valley of Phoenix. And I emailed all those coaches. That was in May of 2011. And I said, hey, I'm driving out in 2 weeks. My goal is to be in Phoenix in the fall of 2011. So if any of you have an opening, I would love to interview for it. And, kind of short, long story here. I wanted to be at South Mountain Community College, but I didn't know if Todd Easton at South Mountain had an opening. I actually played there during spring break when I was in junior college. I played at South Mountain's field against South Mountain. I fell in love with that place. The reason why I fell in love with South Mountain, because that was the best 2 weeks of my college career hitting. Dan, I'm telling you, dude, I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat. I was a defensive guy, but when we went to spring break in Arizona, man, I could get some hits. I don't know, it was magical. So I said, man, I need to be at South Mountain. I hope they have an opening. So anyway, email these coaches. I get 3 that get back to me, and Todd's one of them, Todd Easton, who is still the head coach at South Mountain. He gets back to me. I drive out there from Oklahoma 17 straight hours, man. I interview 2 days with these 3 coaches. Todd's one of them. And then I drive 17 hours straight back to Oklahoma. And on my way back, Todd calls me and he says, "Hey, man, got a great opportunity for you. I've got this opening. I want to offer you the job. I think you fit, what we do, and really like your energy. And I want to offer you the job, but there's no money with this job." And I said, "Man, I've done so many odd end jobs in my entire life." I said, I've lived off of nothing for so long. I can eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, no big deal. And so I said, "Hey, I'll figure out a field maintenance job. I'll figure out how to make ends meet. But if you're offering me the job, no money, I don't care. I just want the opportunity." And so took the job. Actually got a field maintenance job at the college. So I got to work on all the fields. My time of that was working 4:30 a.m. all right, to 1:30 p.m. I would shower at the school, and then we would practice from 2 to 5:30. And so I was doing that every day for those first year and a half, 2 years. And so that was really my first opportunity to get a lot of responsibility and kind of run with it. But what the great thing about Todd that's led me to the Bananas is Todd gave me the opportunity to go coach summer ball that first summer. So summer of 2012. And that really sparked my interest for summer baseball. And, as I transitioned from coaching in the Myrtle Beach Collegiate League, which is no longer around, the Texas Collegiate League, where we won 3 TCL championships.
That was with the Brazos Valley Bombers. Is that right?
That was with the Bombers, man. And coached with 2 of my best friends, Kurt Dixon, Clay Cox. And we broke a bunch of stolen base records. Where the Green Light Special started.
Yes.
We had some special teams, special players, a lot of players that would have fit right in with the Bananas. They had a lot of fun. And so, yeah, man, from there, I took a job in the Cape Cod League with the legendary head coach, Scott Pickler, who's the winningest coach in the Cape Cod League. Pick's the legend. I learned so much from him. And, I set that goal in 2017 to have a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball education and exercise. And with that goal, I think in 2017, as I finished coaching in the Cape Cod League, the Bananas were only 2 years old at that time. I don't know. I think that North Star of setting that goal kind of led me to the Bananas, and I had an opportunity to be the head coach of the CPL Summer Collegiate team of the Bananas in 2018. Yeah.
Well, you guys did fantastic, and I think you won 2 in a row. I think maybe 3 in a row in there. And I tell you, you hit on so many good points here. This stuff is gold. I want to. You're talking about the goal. You mentioned learn, grow, network. Looking at your progression. I think it starts with putting yourself out there. You got to sell yourself if you want to sell your mission. And I want to, with that goal of my goal is to have a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball, education, and exercise. And then you put in one of your posts, 2023 will be the year, which I love it. And then put that together with the bet on yourself, which I absolutely love that. Let's pick that apart a little bit. Tell us where it came from. And I want to say, I'm still astonished. Eddie Collins, 2,100 wins. That is just nuts. Sorry. I just want to throw that out there. That is absolutely amazing. But bet on yourself. Let's pick that apart a little bit. How does that interplay with your goal of, impacting 1 million people through baseball education and exercise? Because there's a backstory there that I think accentuates what you were talking about right at the very beginning, which is coaches are more. They're more than teaching hitting and so much more. I know Coach Collins had a drastic impact on your life. How has all that led to Bet on Yourself? And tell us about what Bet on Yourself is.
Yeah, so a lot of people know my story. Just growing up, I got a wonderful family, grandparents, like very supportive. They've always supported me, but um, you know, it's no secret. My family struggled a little bit with drugs and alcohol, like a lot of American families have, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it. And I like to talk about it because I think it'll help some kids, and especially maybe some ball players that might be going through some of the same situations. My mom and dad were awesome. They gave me, we didn't have everything, but we had enough. And so, um, my dad struggled with alcohol for a long time. He's been in and out of jail. He's had 5 DUIs and struggled with some drugs. And my mom died of an accidental overdose of OxyContin in 2018. And so she struggled with some things there too with alcohol. And I've had a lot of family members in and out of jail, and I've had a lot of friends in and out of jail. And so, baseball was always my getaway. The baseball field was always my cathedral. It was my, sanctuary in a lot of ways. Like it kept me, away from some of those things. I was just always focused on playing the game of baseball since I was 5 years old. And so it's helped me in so many ways. But my hero is Eddie Collins. Like when I got to high school baseball, um, we played a small school. It's a 2A school. Like there's 300 kids from preschool to the 12th grade in the entire school. Right? It's a small school. I went to the same school from preschool to 12th grade, right? And so everybody knows everybody. And I grew up, and Coach Collins was there for like 45 years. So I grew up knowing who Coach Collins was and watching some great ball players at Latta High School. Um, the guy that's actually making my Bet on Yourself shirts. It's my cousin's t-shirt shop. And so the reason why I play baseball is because of my cousin. My cousin was like the guy I looked up to, right? And so I'm going to the baseball field at 8, 10 years old. I'm watching my cousin play. Coach Collins is coaching him, right? This is 92 to 96. My cousin's high school team, they won 4 state championships at Latta High School from 92 to 96. They had a bunch of studs, right? So I'm watching this at a young age going, I want to be those guys, right? And so I grew up, watching Coach Collins, but, you know, Coach Collins, once I got into high school, really led the way of, how to do the right thing, how to be respectful. Everything was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And you outworked everybody. You didn't take any shortcuts. It didn't matter who you were playing. We'd play all the 6A teams, the Owassos, the Edmond Norse, all the big schools, and we're 2A school. Like literally, we had 25 people come out for baseball, and as long as you weren't a turd and you could breathe, you were on the team. You got a jersey, So it wasn't nobody's getting cut, And so we took pride in that, playing those big schools and not scared of playing anybody. Coach Collins's famous line is, "It doesn't matter who's in that other dugout. It doesn't matter if it's the New York Yankees. They're going to put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. So get out there and compete." And he wasn't scared to outwork you, And so I got to watch that every day. He'd get out there and work on the field. We'd work on the field for 2 hours. We thought we were getting a professional field maintenance degree in high school. So we'd work on the field just as much as we practiced. We had a beautiful, beautiful practice field, or a beautiful baseball field. And there was a lot of passion that was put behind that, and you saw it every day. You saw Coach Collins show up every day and compete, and big family guy, and he always had your back. So that was kind of the start, of betting on yourself. But when I started trying to figure out where I was going to college, Seminole State College at that time was one of the national best junior colleges around, Seminole, Oklahoma. I mean, literally, they were going to the World Series more than anybody. There was seasons where they were going like 80-5. Like the guy I played for at Seminole, his name's Eric Myers. He played there in 90, 91. In 2 years, they were 153-9 in junior college. Just killed it, right? And so I'm seeing this growing up. I come from Latta High School where we dogpile, we win championships. I also won 4 state championships in high school. I played with a lot of great players in high school. I was the little second baseman that could turn a double play, but I was gonna hit in that 8 and 9 hole a lot, you know. So anyway, I wanted to be at Seminole because I thought they outworked everybody. So I would go train at Seminole when I was a junior and a senior. And so like it was the only place I wanted to go. I had some other JUCO offers with scholarship money, and like all I could see is like the hardest working people in junior college baseball in my lens, in my perspective, was Seminole State Junior College. So I'm like, I'm going there. And so another bet on yourself story is like my senior year, I committed to Seminole, no scholarship going there. I didn't need it. We were full financial aid. My family didn't make a ton of money. And I'm also Chickasaw and Choctaw Native American Indian. So I had some money from there. And so my junior college was paid for. So it wasn't a money thing for me. It was I wanted to go to the best place where I knew I was going to get better. Whether I played or not, I knew I was going to work harder than everybody. And it was going to challenge me, right? And so I decided to go to Seminole. And the guy that I looked up to the most, Eddie Collins, my high school coach, told me, he sat me down one day and said, "Hey, Gillum, are you thinking about going to Seminole? Do you think that's a good move? They've got some of the best players in the country. At that time it was draft and follows. The major league draft was draft and follows, and Seminole had 12 draft and follows that previous year. And so, Coach Collins is looking at this from a realistic standpoint, right? He's like, it's not, you're probably not going to go there and play. And I said, I know, I'm not worried to come. I've been competing my whole life, since I was a little bitty. So like, I'm not scared to get in there and compete. I know though, there's nobody that outworks those guys. I've seen it. I felt it. I trained with those guys in the weight room, in the cages with practice. Cause I would just drive up there and basically like, I'm training with you guys. I'm here. I just kind of show up and hit in the cages and stuff. So anyway, I was like, that's where I'm going, coach. Like that, I'm all in on Seminole. There's not another place that works harder, and they've won more than anybody, and I want to win. And like, so whether I play or not, I'm gonna do everything I can to play. I know it's realistic. I'm probably not gonna beat out Josue Pele or Terrence Dayleg, who played on the national Canadian team. They were both drafted. That, but the thing was that when I got there at Seminole, I had some advice from one of my friend's dads, and he said, when you get there, he told me and his son this. He said, when you get to college, find the 5 hardest working people on the team and just hang out with those guys. Just you live with those guys. Go to the
That's a gold nugget right there. I'm going to write that one down.
that's special to me, and so like that's what I did, and I lived at the ball field. We have an indoor facility there at Seminole, and man, I'd live there. I'd be there at 5 a.m. when we'd do morning weights, and we'd go to class and come back practice, and I wouldn't leave till 10 o'clock, and then I'd do it all over again. But a lot of people couldn't play at Seminole. Like Seminole is tough. Seminole, like it's a lot. It's not for everybody. We actually had 43 people go out that fall, and 16 guys quit because it was too tough. Back in those days, it was, you could do a little bit of whatever you wanted. Like we'd fight on home plate. People had problems. We'd call each other out and you'd fight on home plate. And so anyway, we had 16 guys quit that my freshman fall. And so, I got some playing time because I just outlasted everybody. And that's what I've been trying to do my whole life is I show up every day. If you show up every day, you're going to outbeat somebody.
Yeah.
And if you try
show up every day, another quotable nugget right there, kids.
If you just continue to learn, grow, and network, eventually you'll get to some spots and you'll have some success. And so that's where I've just been betting on myself, man. Show up every single day, try to outlast some people. I'm not smarter than anybody, but I think for a lot of times I have outworked people, and a lot of that comes from that bull riding background and Coach Collins and just trying to compete every day.
Well, I like the balance between the laser focus of the what. You want to get to this place. You're laser focused on that, but you're flexible on the how. You're flexible on how it gets there. You're flexible on how it looks. And so that I think that's a perfect reason why you are where you are right now. I think the Savannah Bananas have a great focus, a great passion, a great mission. How it looks is more flexible than anybody. You guys are, the in my IT world, the Pacific Northwest of the tech world, you guys are that for the baseball world because you're not painted inside a box. Have there been, before we even get to bananas, let's talk, have there been challenges? Because when people are laser focused on something and they have a passion and a mission, there are obstacles, obviously, but then there are also people that say, you're doing what? You can't do that. So tell us about some of those times. There have been many that where people, their words get in the way, or there are physical obstacles that get in the way, and how you overcome that. Because I think that's a challenge as old as baseball. Baseball's never been a sport where people just say, here's my wallet, take whatever you want. Baseball, you've got to earn the right to have a team, even, and that's the financial side of it and everything like that. But that concept, zoom it in on you personally, and what are some of those challenges that have gotten your way?
Yeah, I think one thing, as I've tried to learn from others that have been successful, I'm obsessed with studying successful people. And one of the things that's always, it always comes back when people talk about challenges or adversity, is that's always part of the journey. If it wasn't, then it'd be too easy. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't be fun, actually. And so a quote that I read back in the day that I really, really enjoy is, the problem is we think we shouldn't have problems. The problem is we shouldn't think we have problems. And so first and foremost is recognizing that, hey, problems is going to be a part of it. Adversity is going to be a part of it. It's the people that win are the ones that are able to not spend all the emotion on thinking about the problem, identify the problem, and then what are those solutions, right? And so a lot of times you get it, especially in high school baseball, where you're complaining about parents or the kids are like this and all of that. You know, I go back to a book that I read from John Gordon in 2000. I think it was 15 or 16. It's 15. So I was on a plane going from Phoenix to Oklahoma, and I love John Gordon books. And one of those books that I was reading was the No Complaining Rule by John Gordon.
Mm.
And I read it. It's an easy read. It's like a 2-hour read. So I read the entire book on the way to Oklahoma. And basically, the book states you can't complain unless you got two solutions. And when I read that, I was like, okay, I've got to quit complaining about some of these things, and I got to start finding all of these solutions. So, some of the previous things that we talked about, the growth toolbox that I created for our life skills course. The growth toolbox is our life skills course at South Mountain. So we started that in 2016, and I started that because I was complaining about us not having as much, resources like some of the other junior colleges. Like, we don't have full scholarships, we don't have dorms, we don't have a cafeteria, and so I was complaining about some of these things. And I said, I got to quit complaining. I got to start finding some solutions. And so some of those solutions was creating the growth toolbox. And, it's all about solutions. You got to be solutions based. Problems is part of it. Resources is like, problems is just part of the journey. We all got to figure out how we're going to solve some of those, And so with the bananas, man, it's like, one of the main quotes that we have is whatever's normal, do the exact opposite.
I need a little bell that dings every time we get a gold nugget quote here, but go ahead.
Yeah, so when I first took the job with the bananas, that was one of the main mottos or quotes that I heard, is whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. If you're doing what everybody else is doing, nobody's going to pay attention, right? So you got to do some things that are a little bit different and outside of the box. And, that's who we are, And so along the road with that is, I was coaching summer collegiate baseball 2012 through 2017. And I had a lot of success. I was around some great people. I had some tremendous players. Players make coaches look really good. So I was fortunate in those areas. And I felt like I got to 2017 and I needed a new challenge. Like, I think, any of us, if we've been in an area for a while, we try to figure out, like, what's our new challenge? What can make us tick a little bit more? Maybe we need a little bit more motivation somewhere. You want to challenge yourself. And so that's where the bananas came around. And so there's a lot of things that align to that. And I felt like the challenge with the bananas is our owner, Jesse Cole. He's the guy in the yellow suit. He wanted to have the greatest show in sports, and he wanted to have the best entertainment. He wanted fans to come to games and stay throughout the entire game, which is a problem, with baseball in general is like people leave early. And so we tried to look at things and say, how can we get people to stay the entire time, and how can they leave having never forget moments? Dan, like, how many baseball moments have you had that are never forget moments? And maybe as a little kid, you going to that major league game, getting that autograph from that player, getting a broken bat, getting that pitcher. A lot of us have these never forget moments. And one of our goals with the Bananas is, how can we create never forget moments for every fan that comes to a game? And it's a challenge. I mean, we're going on this tour, 33 cities, 20 states. We're going to have some new challenges in 2023. Some of these stadiums are going to be 15,000 people in these stadiums, and we're going to try to figure out how to each one of them, And so, that's the challenge. That's fun, man. Is how can we create never forget moments, and how can we blend really good, talented baseball players into the entertainment?
Yeah.
And that was the original thought in 2018: is can I bring in some of the best players in the country to play summer collegiate baseball at that time, summer collegiate baseball, and can we make it the best summer experience in the world? We can do that by making baseball fun. And we marry that with the entertainment. And we were able to do that. We won more games than anybody else in the CPL. We won 3 CPL championships from 2016 to 2022. And we've had 30 players drafted. A lot of people see the dance. They don't realize that we had 30 players that have played for us in the major league
30
draft.
players drafted, 170 plus sellout crowds, 5 million social media followers, most Coastal Plain League wins since 2016, back to back. You guys are legit. I want to dive deeper into a lot of it, because you've got a lot of projects going on, and I even told you offline here right now, you're a hot commodity right now. I'm pretty honored to get even just a little bit of your time here, but I want to have a little fun talking about the big Bananas, and then we'll dive back deeper into some of these projects of yours. First of all, I got to give a shout out to Taylor Tinker. She's still with you guys, right? She's an IU grad. I just got to throw out there, that was the IU link to the Indiana link to the Savannah Bananas. I think we had a Purdue player with the Bananas a couple years ago. Yep. And but none right now. What's just some quick, maybe speed round questions talking about the Bananas, because but Jared Orton, you mentioned Jesse Cole and Emily Cole. What's the craziest idea that never came to fruition, or is that just not something you guys even entertain?
We got a lot of crazy ideas. We actually have idea paloozas, Dan, and so that's all of our people in our organization. We get together in the locker room, and we got a whiteboard out, and we one of our sayings is like, come up with the most crazy things that you can think of, and how are we going to do that on a baseball field? And so we don't like to limit our ideas. Jesse Cole actually has an idea book. So like for the last 5 years, 6 years, he's kept an idea book, and he writes 10 ideas every single day. So ideas keep us alive. If we stop having ideas, then the Bananas are dead. And so we talk about having idea paloozas, and so it's fun in those rooms, because you hear some crazy stuff. You think of it, it's happened. I don't know. You want to? Here's some crazy ones off the top of my head. We're talking about really putting a bull in the bullpen. That hasn't happened yet. We're talking about parachuting guys in. We're talking about playing a shirt and skins game. Like we got some crazy ideas, And so with the summer collegiate team, we couldn't do a whole lot of those. We had to keep those guys safe. We had to. That was one of my number one things taking this job with the Bananas. I said, I'll pull off any entertainment you want, but I want to make sure the guys stay safe and they can compete at a high level, because if we can't compete at a high level, they won't do all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And so like we've always kept the guys safe, and so some of these crazy ideas as we get into our professional team of Banana Ball, like this is right up all of these guys' alley. Like we can do some of these crazy things, and we've got some crazy individuals in that locker room. I'm telling you, what makes it fun, and they're coming up with some of these ideas, some of these skits that you see, some of these dances that you see. That's the players coming up with them. But it's an entire organization. It's part of the culture. It starts, if you go on our website, it says we make baseball fun. And it starts at the top in leadership with Jesse Cole wearing that yellow suit and being completely bought in. And, Emily Cole, his wife, being the heart and soul of our organization, really taking care of all the individuals. And you got Jared Orton, our president. And, there's a complete alignment of this culture of, who we are and what we're going to do every single day. And I think that's what makes this culture and organization really special, because there's a big vision, mission, and we've stuck to that for a long time, even though there's been a lot of naysayers along the way. And I tell you what, that's been the fun thing. And I always say is, when you're doing something different that nobody else has done, you're going to be in the arena and you're going to take the most bullets because you're out front, and that's okay. And it's been fun doing that, because what I've seen is we've been able to put hundreds of thousands of smiles and joy in people's hearts by some of these things that we're doing that are outside of the box, that might not be traditional baseball, which is fine. And I love traditional baseball in a lot of ways, man. Like, I'm a baseball purist in a lot of ways too. But I tell you what, there's something special about banana ball, and there's something special about impacting people every single night. And we're just going to focus on ourselves and not worry about all those naysayers. We're going to impact people that love us.
Well, and you said it. You said it perfectly, and that's one of the coaches listening to this, and I hope there's a good crowd of high school kids listening to this. I want the 13-year-old, 14, 15, 18-year-olds listening to this as well, because there's some concepts here. I know we're talking about the fun of banana ball and everything like that, but the concepts here, going full circle with what you were talking about, the laser focus on the vision of the banana ball, the Savannah Bananas, but then how that looks is outside the box. And that's, like I said earlier, that is as old as time, when baseball coach, especially like the high school level, sometimes it's a one coach program. You got to think outside the box. And one of the concepts that I want to kind of dive into is selling it. Because when you have a mission or a objective or a way of doing things that is outside the box, that is, it's different thinking, it's not traditional, you got to sell that. You got to sell that to the players. You got to sell it to the fans. You got to sell it to the decision makers that write the checks to you. You got to sell it up just as much as you sell it down to the players and sell it out to the crowd. Tell us about that, selling it, because you're, putting everything together here. And this is what I'm sorry for rambling here, but the layers, which is the gold in all of this, and why I wanted to help tell your story, is the layers of all of this and how they interplay, because you're selling some out of the box concepts to players. Think of the, high school level, middle of nowhere team in middle of nowhere, Indiana. They're wanting to change it up. We're not going to be the status quo that has a 500 team every 5 years, just based on, people, let's think crazy here. They got to sell that though. Tell us about some of the hurdles of selling these out of the box crazy ideas, and how you really got to sell yourself, that learn, grow. We can't forget that network component.
No doubt. That's a great question, Dan. So to give you some alignment with that and some vision mission, so our business LLC name is Fans First Entertainment. Okay, so everything is directed and filtered through is this fans first. And so fans first means, do fans like this, whatever this is? That might be example, like when you go to major league, minor league games, or any sporting event, really. When you go buy tickets, a lot of times you see a $40 ticket or a $60 ticket, and when you go to check out, what do you see? You see
75.
You see all these fees that, like, what are these fees, right? You got all these different fees. We've completely gotten rid of every single fee with the Bananas. So when we go on tour, like, all of our tickets are $25. We do all of our tickets in-house through our system with the Bananas, and that's what's really unique. We don't go through any other party vendor. We created our own.
Well, and I want to highlight on that for a second, because I want to tip my hat to the Bananas because of this, with the article I read about Jesse Cole basically turning down a $1 million ticket offer, where one of these third-party organizations wanted to buy every one of your tickets, and then they were going to jack up the prices, and that would have made your organization for the year, but he turned it down because that's part of that laser focused vision. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to highlight on that, because that is doing business right.
No doubt, and that's why I've been with Banana since 2018. And when me and Jesse first got on the phone call in 2017, and we had this conversation about what the vision was and what he wanted to create, that I knew this dude was real and he had a real vision of what's going on, and he was convicted to that. And that's why I've always had so much respect. A lot of people just see a video of this guy that's doing crazy stuff in a yellow suit, but I know where him and Emily's heart lies, and that's in fans first and creating this. And I've got to watch this play out every single day with their actions. A lot of people can talk the talk and it's cool, and you can make it sound really good, but when it gets put to the test, what does it look like, right? And that's probably one of the biggest moments that I'm so proud of our organization, is that we've gotten to this level where people really want to come watch our games. And Jesse got this opportunity where people could hand him a bag of money, and he said
That's conviction.
our values, right? And so it was a cool post, and honestly, there's kind of some sad things with other major sports that is going on there, is because that's how some major sports make money, is they sell tickets to scalpers and they jack up the prices and they get percentages of it. We're trying to completely get rid of that with our ticket system with the Bananas. And so with that, we have $25 per ticket to all of these cities. Now, if you go on to any of these other third parties, you will see some people got a hold of our tickets. They've jacked some of these prices up. We're trying to figure out how to solve that issue. We don't want that at all for our fans. We want our fans to have a fans first moment, a never forget moment with the Bananas. We want it to be family friendly.
Well, and that's legit. Even the fact that that's on your radar and you're actually monitoring, yeah, because that's not an easy solution to solve, But the fact that it's on your radar is says a lot about the conviction and the vision of the program.
So listen to this. So this might be something that other teams can do that we've done, and it's helped our success because it's a fans first type of action. So we've decided our tickets are going to stay relatively affordable, right? $25 a ticket's a good ticket in home at Grayson Stadium. When we're at home, it's all you can eat, open seating. So Dan, if you come to a game, you get a $25 general admission ticket. All of our tickets are all you can eat. So that's hamburgers, hot dogs, soft drinks, water, and popcorn. We just hired a new financial guy with the Bananas. He goes, this doesn't even make sense. I'm like, yeah, I know, but
welcome to the Bananas.
It doesn't make sense, but it does if you're looking at the long run of having the best and greatest show in sports. It makes complete sense if you're looking for long-term success versus short-term gains, right? Do the right thing, right? And you'll win in the long run, but you got to be patient in the long run, right? And so all you can eat, open seating. So when the gates open at 5:30, right? You got 2,000 fans lined up coming in, right? And they get to go get all you can eat food. Now, this is at Grayson Stadium. It's different when we travel on the road because we're at those other stadiums and they handle concessions on the road. But at home, it's all you can eat, and you get to go sit wherever you want in the stadium as long as you get there early. And so that's one of those things that are fans first. We don't like to nickel and dime everybody. There's no more taxes. We pay millions of dollars. I think it's actually like $1.5 million in taxes in those fees for fans. So that's a lot of money, right? And so, but we take care of that shipping and handling, all of that good stuff with our merchandise. And so we got rid of all of our sponsorships. We said, hey, I don't think fans like to get sold to. So we took away all of our sponsorships in the outfield. So that's crazy, right? Again, whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. And so those are some of those little things that we have done, but I think it's about impacting people. If you really focus on impacting people at the high school level in your community, figuring out how to get them to the games, figuring out how to do things a little bit outside of the box, that's where it starts. That's where that initial piece starts.
Well, Coach, I know you've got a team waiting on you here, and I could talk to you for 2 hours. So as we get close to wrapping things up here, I want to, you mentioned the all you can eat. That goes back to, I see some of the programs you've started. Some of them were at South Mountain, the all you can eat infield camps, the green light special base running system. And then of course you mentioned the growth toolbox, growth U, and now you're working with the coaches insider with the creating your infield plan. tell us about some of these programs. Are they, how they came to fruition, and what you got on the horizon for, all these projects you've got going on. And there's a special one I want you to mention. It's you've got a 2-year-old son, and I know you talked about being a kind of a writer in your personal time, just kind of as a hobby, and you've put two and two together with a children's book. To us about some of these missions that you're a baseball lifer, and you've got a lot of pots on the stove here. Tell us about some of these baseball, direct baseball related resources that you're creating.
Yeah, sure, man. I'm just obsessed being around the game of baseball, man. It's given me so much, so I'm always trying to give back. And one of my goals is just try to be the best coach as I can be. And going back to my high school coach, I always say if I can be half the coach Eddie Collins was, I'll be in a good boat. So I'm just trying to continue riding that train and figure out how we can impact more players in the game and and teach the game. And that's my passion. I've got an education background. My bachelor's and master's degrees are in education, and so just trying to teach all the time and learn how to teach and learn how to be a better teacher constantly. And so one of those things that I did was I got an opportunity to do is work with Coaches Insider, and we created an infield course. It's got about 3.5 hours of infield content. That's awesome. It's all the stuff that I've learned over the last 13 years, and infield's my passion. That's what I've spoke the most about at high school clinics, and I really dive into it. So it's all of the information that I've got over the last 13 years compiled into this course, and you can get a certificate at the end of it. So that's on Coaches Insider. We kind of worked together over a year and a half putting that thing together. So it's got a lot of good videos and content in it. And then the Green Light Special originated back in 2014 when I was trying to build what my offensive plan was and learning from some other great coaches. And we needed to do some things a little bit different on the base running piece to create the most high level offense to score the most runs. The goal from an offense is to score the most runs. And so what I noticed is like if you can get somewhere around that 100 stolen bases mark every single season, then you got a great chance at scoring more runs than the other teams, and that's the goal. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities with a lot of teams that you can steal a lot of bases, and I don't think a lot of teams steal enough bases because they don't realize those opportunities. So I created this Green Light Special system, and it's basically teaching guys what to look for, tendencies, and then practicing every single day and putting a program together so they're being intentional at what they're practicing from a base running standpoint. I don't think a lot of teams, and I did this early in my career, we didn't practice base running hardly at all, right? I think a lot of teams don't practice base running enough. A lot of teams, back in the day, we used to do like a 45-minute session in August of base running. You went through base by base of 45 minutes, and then you never really worked on base running again. And then when we got to the spring, right, and somebody made a base running mistake, like, what are you doing? And so like, me looking at myself, I'm like, dude, we got to practice this every single day. And so that's part of the Green Light Special is practicing, base running for 10, 15 minutes every single day, be specific about it, build a plan. And with that, we've led the league in majority of the years that I've coached. And so, in 2017 was one of our best years. We stole 200 bases as a team and led the country at South Mountain Community College. And then in the Texas Collegiate League, 2014 to 2016, we had like 150 stolen bases. A couple of those seasons broke those TCL records of stolen bases, and so it was fun. You got to have the right players, but also if you don't have the fastest guys, there's still opportunities to steal bases. And I think that's what the cool thing is you don't have to be the fastest guy in the room or the fastest guy in the team to steal bases. There's opportunities that you can touch on. So that was the Green Light Special. And, I love doing my infield camps. I do infield camps all over the country. Coaches call me to ask me to come in. I'll fly to their place and we'll put on infield camps. So I love to do that in the off season. A lot of that's October, November, December when we're doing those. And my newest thing that you brought up is I wrote a book, a children's infield book called 3 Up, 3 Down, an Infielder's Story. And I did that because I have a 2-year-old son, and my wife's, we've got a ton of books at the house, right? And we're reading books every night, and I'm like, there's not any good infield baseball books. We need to create this thing, right? And so Yeah, on a plane flight, I wrote this book, and I'm with a publisher. We've been working on it for a while, so we're in the illustration phase right now. Got an illustrator. He's doing an awesome job putting some pictures to these words, and a lot of the words is like what my hope is for this book is parents buy this book for their children, and they read this infield book as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and they read this book and it stays with this player throughout their entire baseball journey, because the verbiage, the terminology, and the cues that I use to coach infielders is the same. It's very simple that I would coach a 5, 6, 7-year old, as well as the college or professional guys that I have now. Because if you can keep it simple, it'll be sticky. And so that's what I always talk about. That's what I always talk about as coaches. How do you make it sticky? And the retention piece of whatever you're coaching, do the players retain it? Because if they don't know it and they can't teach it, then you haven't taught it as a coach. And sometimes that's a slap in the face for us coaches, right? We got to go, okay, we thought we were teaching it, but if that player can't teach it and he doesn't know it, or he can't teach it, then he really doesn't know it. So I'm hoping this book basically takes baseball infielders through their young t-ball days, throughout their professional baseball career, and it can help them from a fundamental standpoint, and it can be a fun book for them. So I'm hoping that comes out at the end of 2023. We should have a date on that soon, so we'll see.
Well, I'm a 50-year-old, and I'll be getting a copy and having my wife read it to me. Because I'll never grow up, and that kind of makes me think of as we wrap up, thinking of the concept of fun. But obviously, the big concepts that we talked about is it's so much more. There are layers to it. It all connects. It all relates to the mission. But making it fun is a big part of it. What do you tell a high school coach? Does baseball need to be fun?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of our most famous players, Bill Leroy, our catcher. A lot of people see him on social media as the trick catcher. He can do all the trick throws and everything. He's special human. He's from Dublin, Georgia. And he's a small town guy like I am. His second summer with us in 2019, he had a quote. He said, "We make baseball fun, and fun wins." And so, with that quote, what you start really seeing is these guys, like, sometimes the game of baseball is stressful, right? You fell 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. And so you're battling these mental, monkeys in your head all the time about trying to be successful in this game. And that brings a lot of stress and a lot of tension. And so if you can keep the game fun and guys can play loose, players can play loose, then you're going to get their best performance. And so that's what we've tried to create with the Bananas, and it's shown to work. We've won more games than anybody else, and we're still doing, a lot of, I've got guys dancing on the dugout in the 7th inning, and they're closing out games in the 9th, and they're CPL, closers of the year. We've got a guy, Alex Dancing Deegan, as we he was one of those guys. But you don't have to do all the crazy things that we do, but if you put music in there, if you figure out how to debrief after games and give shout outs to players and give incentives to players and pump guys up for doing good things and being good teammates, I think that plays a role. Giving players ownership. I think the shout outs is such a big thing. We give so many shout outs in the group with our guys, and that creates that culture too of like, hey man, keep doing good things. We all want those personal accolades of coaches or people in our organization giving us those pats on the back. And, we try to do that every single day to highlight those people that are doing great things inside of our organization. And I think everybody else that's part of our organization, they see that and they go, you know what, I want one of those shout outs. I want one of those incentives, like a t-shirt or a headband, or maybe it's a steak dinner or something of that nature. Right. And so these are some of those little things that happen inside of our culture that I think anybody can do. It's about serving others, putting some music to practices, having some fun, keeping games, keeping practices kind of gamified, in a lot of ways where it's engaging. And, I think those things work. And if you keep it fun, you got a chance to be really successful. And a lot of people think fun, that means you're just messing around all the time and not working hard.
Fun can be work, and work can be fun.
that could be like the furthest from the truth. With the Bananas, we got a ton of people that work their absolute butt off every single day, but we keep it fun, and that allows us to come back every single day and dominate each day and try to win each day.
And Coach, last question. This is one I ask every guest, and anybody listening knows what I'm going to ask at this point. You call it one thing. I call it the 12-year-old kid moment. And when you think of baseball as a 12-year-old, there's those moments where it's just pure, innocent fun. You don't have a care in the world, and you're just loving the game of baseball. As adults, this is an industry and a business to you, but I'm sure you have some 12-year-old kid moments looking back. And with the Savannah Bananas, I'm not going to let you say every game. I'm going to, because you probably could. When's the last time that you've had a 12-year-old kid moment where you said, I am exactly where I need to be?
Man, I have them all the time here. I'll tell you that this place is special. We got some special humans, and let me tell you this. I think this resonates with everybody. Is back in 2019, we had a temp player on our CPL team. His name's Brian Encarnacion, and we were having this tryout, and there was a lot of kids around at the field that day, and this kid had an unbelievable tryout. He looked like the best player on the field, and these two kids, young kids, come up to him after the tryout, and they say, Brian, hey, can we have your autograph? And he looked at them with like a straight face and said, no. And me and Jesse, our owner, kind of like looked at him, and he said, only if I can have your autograph. And so he gave his hat to the two little kids, and they wrote their autographs. They could barely write their name, right? And they wrote their autographs on his hat, and he put it back on. Then he signed their balls and their jerseys and everything. And that always stuck with everybody here with the Bananas. Is like, that's one of those never forget moments as a little kid, right? And this past tour in 2022, we had a player named Michael Deeb. He's actually played football at Notre Dame, and then he played Division I baseball too as well. And Deeb's one of the most awesome humans you can be around. Great guy. And if you watched on tour, if you see any of these pictures of what Michael Deeb's jersey looked like, is he took it to the next level. He actually had kids sign his jersey. So the yellow jersey I got behind me, the entire front of it and the entire back of it has jerseys, signatures of these little kids. So think about that as a little kid, that you're 10, 12 years old and you're watching on ESPN, you're watching Banana Land, and you see your autograph on this player's jersey on ESPN. You'll never forget that the rest of your life, and that'll impact you. And that's what we're all about with the Bananas. And one of the cool things is when we go to Cooperstown at the end of this 2023 tour, they're making a case for us. So we're going to be put into Cooperstown, and they're going to have a case there. And that jersey that Michael Deeb had all those kids sign is going to be in that case. And that's a never forget moment. Yeah. That gives me chills every time I talk about it. And that's what the Bananas are about. So anybody that, has anything negative to say about the Bananas, which we don't worry about, is those are the stories. Those are those fans' first moments that continue to get spread. And that's why we're selling out games, is because we're trying to make every one of these players that was us as an 8-year-old, us as a 10-year-old, we're trying to make that kid happy, and that's the focus.
Well, I'm having a 12-year-old kid moment right now. June 29th and June 30th, you're going to be at Victory Field. Coach, this is exactly why I wanted you on. I appreciate the overtime, the extra innings here. I know you got a lot going on, so I really appreciate your message. I'm buying what you're selling, and I am fully on board with the Bananas. Coach, I really appreciate it. Thank you.